was Rabbi Dov Lipman, former member of Knesset. He is now with an organization that's bringing Olim to Israel called Yad L'Olim, brought over 30,000 families from 40 different countries. Thank you for joining us. Good morning to you in South Africa.
Thank you so much. It's great to be with you, Zev.
Thank you. So I noticed, I loved your piece. You did a story about your Rabbi, Rav Schechter, of Chaim Berlin. So those may not be aware that you were in the United States. I believe you were in Eretz Yisrael also. Tell us about your relationship, but tell us about your Rabbi.
So to be honest, I want to be clear. It's interesting that you called him my Rebbe. He wasn't my Rebbe, but the fact that he taught me one thing, which stays with me to this day, makes him my Rebbe, I guess. I was a young guy in Silver Spring, Maryland, and a number of the Rebbeim in our school were from Chaim Berlin. And when I was in 8th grade, they brought Rav Schechter to our school. And you have to understand, regular American kids, what does it mean that he's a Gadol B'Yisrael, a Rosh Yeshiva? We don't know anything. As I mentioned in my recording, I can tell you everything about the Washington Redskins from that year, everything about the Baltimore Orioles from that year. I don't remember a word of Torah that I learned that year, but I remember what Rav Schechter taught me. He walked into the room, and I have to be honest with you, I was overwhelmed by his presence. There was some
How old were you?
Aura. I was 13 years old. 13 years old. I was blown away by the aura. There was like I just saw something very special about him. And he began talking. I actually remember my first thoughts were I was kind of like analyzing his beard. He had a very unique beard, which kind of like went in like two different lines down. And I was just looking at that. And I didn't think I was going to hear any Torah that I would remember or care about. And then all of a sudden he says, "Do you guys play ball? Do you guys go to sports games?" And wow, this Rosh Yeshiva is now talking my language. So I started paying attention. And he said, "I don't understand. Every day in davening, you say, V'yachid levavenu li'ava u'liyira et shemecha." You ask God, the only thing I want is avas Hashem and yiras Hashem. That's it. He said, how can you say those words when, in recess, you're going to go out, you're going to play ball. When you're off from school, you're going to go watch your sports teams. There's other things that you enjoy to do in life that are outside of avodas Hashem. How can you say those words? And that question really piqued my interest because I loved playing ball. I loved going to games. I loved doing all the things that I was doing. And yet I'm saying those words every morning in Birchos Kriya Shema. And then he said, the answer is, and you could brace yourself to hear a Gadol B'Yisrael say, the answer is, don't go to the ball game. Don't play ball. Don't be a regular American kid. But he didn't say that. He said the answer is, when you go play ball, do it with Avas Hashem and Yiras Hashem. And when you go to watch your sports teams play, you do it as an Eved Hashem. You can incorporate every single aspect of being an Eved Hashem and a Ben Torah into anything that you're doing in your life. And I have to tell you, Zev, I mean, here I am at 52 years old, and I'm remembering it. I remembered it. And when I heard that he passed away, it really made me think about that. And I guess to go back to what you started with, he is my Rebbe because he taught me something which I have with me for the rest of my life.
Right, and you still remember that. I was smiling when you were speaking because I was on the Israel Bonds lecture circuit for a while, and I went to speak to a school in Chicago. And they came in with these graviers, with these philanthropists. One of them was like a heavy smoking, out of central casting, philanthropist. So I think there's somebody asked the question, like, what are you learning? All the kids are not really paying attention. And this smoking, philanthropist, this cigar smoking philanthropist goes, anybody know who Sammy Sosa is? And everybody's going jumping up and down, So you have to learn to speak the language of who you're addressing to. So Rav Schechter was speaking, he understood the psyche of the kids in your class, and we were able to relate to them. So it reminds you of sort of Lubavitcher Rebbe, where a bar mitzvah went to see the Rebbe, and the Rebbe says, "Are you a sports fan?" I don't know if you know the story. And he goes, yes. He goes, what are you following? The Mets or the Dodgers? This goes back. I think it was the Dodgers. They moved out of Brooklyn. So I said, Dodgers fan. And he goes, did you go to a game? He goes, yes, I went to a game. They're doing so poorly. We left after the 8th inning. So the Rebbe goes, did the players leave the game too? And he goes, no, they didn't leave the game. So the Rebbe says, never be a fan. Just always be a player.
Wow.
So that's all came out. So I know that we're all saddened by his passing. He was a tremendous, figure in the not just in the Chaim Berlin, but in the Frum community. Represents, a generation that unfortunately is not here that much anymore. So we appreciate you sharing some thoughts about that. And while I have you here with us, how's it going? I know you bring a lot of people to Israel. Is it more difficult to bring people to Israel because of judicial reform? That's controversy. Are people saying to you, I'm thinking of going, but I changed my mind?
So I haven't heard many conversations like that. I think that most people who want to make Aliyah, there's a strong ideology there that enables them to come to Israel, regardless of what's happening in Israel, security-wise or politically. I will tell you, I'm in South Africa now, and this is all anybody wants to talk about, is understanding what's happening with judicial reform. And I explain to people that I believe this is part of a process, an important process for Israel, and the sky is not falling, and democracy is not crashing, and B'ezrat Hashem, everything will be okay. But in terms of Aliyah, it really has been an incredible 2 years to have thousands of Jews from around the world reach out to Yad L'Olim, both before their Aliyah and after their Aliyah in particular, and really help them navigate through Israeli bureaucracy. And the most important number that you mentioned is from 40 different countries. It's unbelievable. We're living in a time where Kibbutz Galiyot is happening in front of our eyes. This, in 2 weeks, we're going to read in Parshas Nitzavim, Hashem's going to say, V'shav Hashem Elokecha eshvuscha v'richamecha. God's going to come and find us. Hashem finds us everywhere, and it's happening in front of our eyes. We're blessed to live in a time where we see these prophecies coming true, and I'm just blessed every morning with my staff in Yad L'Olim to wake up and be part of that process.
What is the most exotic country that you find them going to Israel from the 40 countries that you mentioned?
The Oled that surprised me the most was an Oled from Iran. That was a complicated process, and
they let them out from Iran to go to Israel. They let them make Aliyah. I can't see that.
No, well, he didn't go to a local government office in Iran and say, "I want to make Aliyah."
I didn't think so.
There's a lot more behind the scenes, and it took him to a few countries along the way. We had somebody from Kenya reach out as well. Those are probably the two. Ghana was another one. So it's really, literally, God scatters us to all corners of the world, exactly as it says in the Torah. But he says, I'll remember you, I'll remember my covenant, and we're seeing it happen in front of our eyes. And thank God at Yad L'Olim, we're blessed to be part of that process.
You mentioned the African country. I don't know if it's Ghana or one of the other ones, where there is also a whole group that's converted to Judaism. We're in the process of becoming Jews.
There's a group in Uganda that are looking into this for sure. To be honest with you, as part of the process of Kibbutz Galiyot and Yemot HaMashiach, there's definitely an awakening that's happening around the world amongst various tribes who believe that they are from the lost tribes. We're not saying that they're Jewish, and there would have to be some kind of a process of conversion if they want to join us. I have no idea if they do or not, but there's a group of millions in Afghanistan, millions.
Right, the Pashtun tribe is
Pashtun, millions in Nigeria, the Igbo, millions in Japan. I mean, they're all over the place, and they have these remnants of traditions and culture. And it's just a fascinating part of the story of a state of Israel, the ingathering of the Jews, and then this awakening from these possible tribes. And we'll have to see each one. Of course, the rabbinate will get involved, just like they did with Ethiopia, just like they did with the Bnei Menashe in northern India. And we'll see in each one of them exactly how we deal with it. But it's certainly something for people to keep their eyes on.
Are you getting much requests from the Pashtun tribe in Afghanistan?
We're not getting requests for Aliyah. There's definitely an interest from a lot of these tribes in some kind of relationship, recognition. They're not
in Afghanistan?
So I have not personally received it. I do know of somebody who works in this space, who has absolutely had correspondence with Pashtun in Afghanistan, who are trying to see, like, how does this work? What is involved in this? And we'll see where that story goes.
And somebody said to me, tongue-in-cheek, years ago, to solve the problem what Israel has with the Palestinians, bring the Pashtun in, and they can be in the border between Israel and the Palestinian area. You'll solve the problem.
Well, that would solve two problems. It would solve the problem about the security, and also, the whole demographic question. If we have an influx of 50 million people into Israel that are identifying with the Jewish people, I think we'll be okay.
But are you getting requests from people to make Aliyah that believe they come from the 10 lost tribes? That's a growing number of people that want to make Aliyah?
There's definitely a growing number of people who they're not necessarily asking for Aliyah right now. It's the beginning stages of a relationship. There's a communication that's going on, and they're interested in what's happening in Israel. And again, like I said, if they do have it get to the point where they want to actually make Aliyah and come be part of Israel, at that point, I assume the Rabbanut would get involved and study it and see. And just like the Bnei Menashe, they come and they do a halachic conversion when they arrive in Israel. I assume there would be some kind of a process of that kind with these tribes as well, if it ever gets to that point.
You were a member of Knesset. Do you miss it?
So I do not miss being in the Knesset as a politician. Thank God I'm in the Knesset a few days a week, working on Olim issues in committees, arguing for Olim, advocating for Olim, and I love being part of that, being in the mix on trying to impact Israel. But every day when I see the headlines, I say to myself, thank God that I'm not there, not coalition, not opposition, not trying to be electioneering, just to be myself, wake up and just try to help Olim.
Now, you still keep up with Yair Lapid? I know you were part of his party. Is that the connection you still maintain?
So I'm not a member of any political party any longer, and it's important for me to be apolitical to really work with coalition and opposition for Olim. But I have constant communication with people in all the different parties as we try to move forward. There was one member of Knesset from Yesh Atid who was a really big help in some of the movement that we made on Olim issues, and you were constantly in communication, and I'm very appreciative of those relationships.
What's your biggest challenge in trying to get people to move to Israel?
The biggest challenge for people making Aliyah is definitely on a Parnassa front. I believe in smart Aliyah. I don't believe in people dropping everything and coming to Israel without a plan in place for themselves and for their children. But without a doubt, and again, we're not an organization that helps place people in jobs, but we're certainly available to help guide people to a certain degree on anything related to their Aliyah. But definitely employment is the number one issue that people are facing. And B'ezrat Hashem, as time goes along, everyone finds their place and figures out the best way to go about it. One of the things that we work hard on is to help the process of getting licensed in Israel, of being able to have their degrees transferred. That's a big area of Yad L'Olim's impact, and certainly helping B'ezrat Hashem thousands of Olim as they try to make that transition to Israel.
Has the bureaucracy eased from people making Aliyah, or is still the same bureaucracy that always existed?
The bureaucracy is still pretty much as it existed. I think it's helpful to have an organization like ours, where if you have an issue with the health system, the education system, taxes, the ports, your driver's license, a lot of the real bureaucratic issues, that you have an advocate and someone who knows how to navigate the system to help. And our goal is not only to help individuals, but to change policy and try to get to a point where the bureaucracy is less. But that change will take time.
What distinguishes your organization, let's say, from a group like Nefesh B'Nefesh?
Nefesh B'Nefesh is the official arm of the Israeli government for anyone making Aliyah from North America. You cannot make Aliyah without going through them, and they will be there to help people through every step of the way with their advisors. And it's a remarkable organization that we work very well together with. Let's remember, aside from North America, there's a lot of other countries in the world where people are making Aliyah, tens of thousands per year. So we're here to help them as they're dealing with difficult bureaucratic challenges before their Aliyah. And then post Aliyah, we definitely have certain areas of expertise, which, Nefesh B'Nefesh is wonderful and helps people, but there are certainly limitations that all organizations have. And our expertise in terms of the health system and other bureaucratic issues, we're available for people post Aliyah from all around the world. But we're proud to be partners of theirs. And like I said, anybody from North America is making Aliyah, Nefesh B'Nefesh is their address, and they're the ones who are going to help them through the whole Aliyah process.
Rabbi Dov Lipman, former member of Knesset, his organization called Yad L'Olim. Thank you for joining us. If people want to learn more, how can they do so?
They can go to yadlolim.org to learn more about the organization. We are definitely in need of support as well. We're totally privately funded, so there's a donate page there on yadlolim.org. And again, if anybody has any questions regarding their Aliyah, certainly, like I said, North America, go to Nefesh B'Nefesh as your first step. From everywhere else around the world, I will be happy to be here and to guide you and help people make Israel their home.
Thank you for joining. I look forward to having you back. Enjoy your rest of your stay at Lingwood in South Africa.
Thanks so much. Shabbat Tov, everyone.
Rabbi Dov Lipman here on the